A question I have about the athletes, the high performance athletes that you've worked with in the past, especially if they're, of the professional, of the semi-professional level, is there a pressure as a medical professional to expedite anything because of their pro status or something along those lines? Or do you just stick to your script and you do what you need to do for that patient? You're not, or do you feel that, maybe not even, externally thinking it, but like, hey, this guy's a professional soccer player or this guy's a professional rugby player, whatever. Does that ever come into mind?
Okay. So, there are certain things that you cannot negotiate with the patient about.
Definitely.
Okay. A lot of patients come in and they negotiate with you. You need to be 2 weeks off. No, doc, I cannot. I have to be 1 week off. No, you cannot. You have to be 2 weeks off. No, I cannot. I have to do this, this, and this. So there are a lot of socioeconomic things that interfere in medical decision making. Nevertheless, those socioeconomic things should not interfere if there is a dire need, which means if you have a broken bone, you got to get off of it.
Right.
If you have an attenuated tendon, then maybe I can get you into physical therapy to help you out a little bit. Get you moving.
Yep.
Tape it up, do things like that to get you going.
Make your life still able to go on.
Exactly. Now, these pushes that the athletes have done throughout the years, which means, hey, doc, can you do anything else?
Yep.
Or can you find me a different
Can you get me back in 3
Yeah.
weeks instead of 2 months?
And so these pushes that those patients have given us as a doctors made us actually think of new ways.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Okay?
that's true.
So then you start to think outside the box. Okay.
Interesting. I never looked at it like that.
So we start to think about this in a different way. Okay, so what if it is my ankle and I want to do this?
Right.
What am I gonna do? If I know everything I know about the ankles, what am I gonna do to help my ankle not to have this problem?
Right.
At that point, I'm thinking about that and I'm thinking, okay, I have to explain this to the patient and tell them, hey, this is what you need to do to stop this injury from recurring. Thus, you stop the problem in the future. Thus, you can go back faster. So it ends up being a situation whereby I'm not negotiating as much as I'm educating.
That's a great way to put it. That's an incredible way to put it. And you got to think, we were talking last night on the show about, the freak accident that happened with the Chargers quarterback and having his lung punctured. Are there, and I don't know how this really is overseas, do a lot of professional teams internationally have their own doctor, or do they use, public practitioners?
Yeah. There are a lot of good doctors out there.
Oh, yeah.
Don't
Absolutely.
And I've seen and I've actually interacted with a lot of experts in their fields, and the minds are out there. It's just that you just need to find that mind,
Yep.
And no matter how much somebody tells you, not everybody is going to get the same result with the same person.
Right. There's so many variables.
Exactly. So let's say you have a very, there's a deformity of the foot, let's say, and you are trying to play anyway. All right. Now, I have to deal with the deformity at the same time deal with you trying to play.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. It's kind of both pieces.
So what I'm trying to say, this happens with everybody. All the doctors are thinking this way. Are thinking, okay, what can I do to help my patient get better? And that's where you kind of, it's not a book thing. It's not like you can write a book or read a book about this. You're actually thinking from all the experience that you've learned throughout the years to actually come down to, okay, well, this is what needs to be done on this patient, or this needs to be done on this patient, and so on and so forth. So you end up being kind of like, squeezing your mind for, okay, what can I do with this patient that I can help him get where he needs to go, knowing what I know. So basically, then and there are a lot of times where I say, you know what? I've reached the end of my knowledge. Maybe you need to get somebody else to actually give you that knowledge as well. Maybe they have a different way of doing things. And there has been a lot of improvements in everything. There has been a lot of theories that are coming out of Switzerland and Germany about how you should actually exercise and stretch. Theories about how the body is made. And the more we understand how the body is made from origin, the more we can actually treat it. So that's important, because a lot of people now are thinking about what they call spiral dynamics. Spiral dynamics comes in from the idea that everything is a spiral, believe it or not.
That's
So let's say the black hole is a spiral. The flower is a spiral. The human body, believe it or not, is also a spiral. So if you have a spiral that's coming down to the ground, it's going to spring off the ground as it comes down to the ground without doing too much effort. So the brain doesn't even think about what it has to do, because the actual body is coming down off the ground right or as it wants to, just because of that spiral bit. So it becomes a thing that, hey, that's a new thought. Right? Okay, not a lot of people around here know about this. In Europe, it's becoming more and more famous.
Sure.
So again, it could be a fad. No one knows, just like PRP, like whatever else we do for athletes. But all of these things come into play. So as a doctor, I'm thinking of all these things that I know, that I've learned, and actually trying to say, okay, well, this will help you in this position.
Right.
And then I will direct that patient to do whatever they need to.
That's awesome. Now, is it one of those things where you just get to the end? Do you have like a checklist that you go through mentally, or is it just like if you're dealing with a patient, you're trying to get to, help this patient out? Is it one of those things where the light just kind of comes in your head and you're like, you know what? I've tried and I've thought of everything I can. Now it's time for me to go, maybe get some outside help or, consult another. Is it just kind of like a switch of the lights for you?
Correct. Well, what happens is you end up in a situation whereby you reach a point where you have to be humble. I told you that in the beginning. You have to be humble. You're not God.
Yeah, for sure.
So once you reach that point, you have to say, you know what? I have to refer you to somebody else.
Gotcha. You don't want to keep pushing it too far, because then you're not.
And then you're causing more problems.
Definitely.
And we don't want to do that.
For sure. For sure. For sure. So this is something that we have talked about on the podcast before, and I'd love to hear your opinion. One of the biggest things in youth sports right now is the specialization. Kids playing, one sport all year round instead of playing, basketball and baseball and football and kind of bouncing around. Do you see anything medically that would suggest, one way or the other, kids specializing in one sport or, playing the field, playing different sports till a certain age?
I am more of a proponent to play the field, which means play all the sports.
Definitely.
Why? Because you're young.
Right.
Okay. So your body is able and agile to do all these things. And also it gives you a mindset, which means, okay, well, maybe this game is not for you. Another game would be.
Find what you like, find what you don't like.
Exactly. And how would you know without actually trying?
Definitely.
So if you do one thing and not do the other, in my opinion, you're not actually doing yourself a favor. From a medical point of view, there is nothing that stops you.
Right. So
if you want to do it, by all means do it and try it, as a kid. And as a parent, by all means encourage all kinds of sports.
For sure.
The only limitation is problems, So if there is a problem and the patient see, the problem with kids is they don't tell the parents.
Yeah.
Play
through it kind of thing.
Right. The parent have to actually see it.
Yep. All right.
Or the grandparent have to see it. So let's say a kid comes in and they're like putting their hand in their ear all the time.
Something's not right.
So what would you think?
Probably has an earache or something along that.
Possibly an infection, right? So you want to investigate, right? Or they rub their ears all the time. What are you thinking? Oh, maybe they need eyeglasses, right?
Yep.
Now they're not saying that to you, but you
have to be observational about it.
Exactly. So they're giving you the clues without you knowing.
Right.
And so that's where parents come into play, actually understanding what their kids need.
Yep.
And what their kids are telling them without telling them.
For sure. I know one of the things that gets talked about is like the rate that, younger kids are having Tommy John surgery with the elbow and, how fast some kids are being rushed into that. basically taking a tendon out and putting it in the elbow. There's the old baseball surgery, Is that something that might be being exploited because of specialization, where kids are only playing base? Would you do more damage to, if you're playing baseball all year round, are you going to do more damage just by specializing in that one sport, whether it's an elbow or a shoulder or?
I'm not a specialist in those areas, but I can tell you from the foot situation, whenever we do tendon transfers, let's say we do a tendon transfer on a patient that needs it, a CP patient, let's say, if we need to do maybe or pes cavus, which is basically a very high arch foot or a club foot or whatever is the problem, that we need to do a tendon transfer or tendon release or whatever. The minute you touch a tendons have like 5 stages.
Yeah.
Okay. And the minute you touch a tendon to do anything with it, it loses a stage. Okay.
Yep.
So it goes down a stage.
Really?
Yeah. So if you do, let's say you're taking a tendon from the front of the foot, putting it in the back of the foot. Well, now we're actually removing a tendon that actually moves the foot up. Okay.
Yep.
Putting it in the back of the foot. Now the foot. That tendon is coming from a muscle that is trained by the brain to actually do what? To move the foot up.
Instead of the other way.
Right. So now, as it fires, what is it going to do?
Go up.
Well, there is nothing going up. So it's going to...
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Do you see the problem here?
Yep.
So you end up having a lot of training to that muscle because the brain has to actually understand that this is no longer doing this function.
Yo.
And when you lose a function of a tendon, we are made perfect.
Right.
We are made perfect. Whoever created us, I tell you, was perfection.
Yep.
And believe it or not, I mean, the simplest thing, you should really see one of my YouTube channel videos. God, or whoever you want to call it, that force that made us, believe it or not, on the big toe joint, your big toe, there is a capsule would hold the actual fluid in that toe, so as it actually becomes lubricated, so as when you walk, it won't be very painful for you as a human being.
That's crazy.
So can you imagine that care that happened there? Okay, that's number one. Well, that happens to all your toes.
Yo,
Not only
man.
that, all right? Not only that, guess what? There is a tendon that goes to the capsule, moves it out of the way before the toe goes up.
It's crazy. It's something so minuscule that makes what we do that we don't even think about.
Exactly.
Like
so that's
getting up
saying.
and walking to your fridge over there, we wouldn't even for a second think about.
That's why I'm saying you tamper with that, and or you change the way you are made. Okay, then you have a problem.
Right.
Now, if you were born with a problem, I understand.
For sure.
And then we try to help as much as we can to put things the way that everybody else is, because we know the anatomy of everybody else. So we try and help it that way and make you at least be able to walk. Some people we may not be able to, and some people we will be able to. So it depends on your anatomy and your problem.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying, if you have a good anatomy, try everything. So
there you go.
You won't say, hey, I was doing this and that's what caused the problem. No, it's not.
Right. It could be, like you've said many times, it could be a variety of things. It's so, intricate and so
that's why
in depth.
It's important that you seek a professional so as they can tell you what to do.
Right.
They're not there to judge you. They're not there to minuscule you. They're not there to make you feel terrible. They're there to help you out.
Absolutely. I think that's honestly like part of, just the way that some people look at the medical profession lately, it makes me sad, because there's some people out there, and I'm sure, you see on social media that, doctors are, out here to make a buck. It's like, not the right ones, like all the doctors I've been to, and I've been very fortunate, they're, like you said, they're out there to help you. They're out there to make you better. And they know more. You've probably forgotten more about the medical field than I'll ever know. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how in-depth the knowledge is. You just got to find, like you said, the right one, the right specialist, whatever it is that you're ailing from. You've got to be willing to go out and find that person. I think that's so important that people forget.
That's very important, that you find the proper proper professional for your problem. It's very important that you know that.
For sure. I got to get into it, Doc, and I got a little bit of a beef with you. and this is a good thing. You've been on. When did you create your YouTube page?
Actually started. I created was about October 17th.
Okay, so less than a year ago.
But I've only been active with it since April.
So okay, so you've had a YouTube page, like an active YouTube page since April. It's the middle of September, so let's call it 5 months. You are up to 402 subscribers. We have been plugging away on YouTube for like 2 years. We've got like 72 subscribers. So whatever you're doing, make sure you follow Dr. Daniel. If you go to YouTube, type in Dr. Elie, E-L-I-E, Daniel, D-A-N-I-E-L. He has amazing videos up here. In all different kinds of surgery or recoveries. Is there any one that you would tell someone if you just met someone on the street, you say, hey, go watch this video?
Yeah,
which one?
The basic video that I like everybody to watch is how to buy shoes.
Ooh, I'm a shoe guy.
So it's very important that people go and see this because a lot of people don't know how to buy their shoes.
That I never thought of that.
Very simple, very basic. Don't go and looking at my tendon transfers and or my tendon surgeries and my total transplants that I've done. You don't want to do that. I'm telling you to go for the basic.
I like the toenail removal one. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I mean, that's simple. Again, we're trying to be simple. We're trying to be basic.
Yep.
You know? And a lot of people go into, oh, yeah, you have the L5, L6, S1, S2, whatever, no problem. Well, I'm not doing that. All I'm doing is trying to be as simple as possible, trying to show patients that they can even do this on their own sometimes, just to actually understand what their problems are.
For sure.
Like buying shoes. It's very simple. People need to learn how to do that. It's
absolutely.
It's a very, very simple thing.
I own probably 50 pairs of shoes. I wear a size 15. I'm probably not a perfect size 15, but I got a little bit of a fatter foot. So I'm probably like a 14 and a half, but I wear a 15. And this video is only 4 minutes long, guys. I'm going to post it to my Twitter. How to buy shoes. It is so simple because like so many people out there, I can think of, 10 guys off the top of my head that own 25, 30 pairs of shoes. They probably don't even know what they're looking for. And they might even be, I wear a different pair of shoes every day. I'm not even afraid to admit it. But I wonder why after, I wear this certain pair of shoes, my feet hurt. My ankles hurt. And that makes a lot of sense.
That's why I put this out. Now, I did this like maybe a year and a half ago when I was in Tbilisi, because a lot of patients were coming in and they were like, what kind of shoes do we get? What kind of shoes do we get? I'm thinking, I also get that question here in the United States too, so why don't I create something? And right there and then, I said to somebody, okay, hold the phone. I'm gonna record this so as everybody can learn how to do this.
That's awesome.
And that's what we did, and that's why it's on there. Now, there are other things here, intricacies again. If you have questions, please ask.
Absolutely. So make sure, like I said, go to YouTube, go to your search bar, type in Dr. Elie Daniel, D-A-N-I-E-L, and make sure to subscribe to his page. I know, even people that I'm friends with or acquaintances with love medical videos, and there's stuff there for everybody. And people can also follow you on Twitter at Dr. Elie C. Daniel. I will also tweet his page from there. You're growing on Twitter, so you got us on YouTube. You're kicking our butt on YouTube, but we got you on Twitter for now. But if the numbers continue to grow like they do YouTube, you're going to catch us in no time.
Well, I'm trying to reach more audience simply because I think what is lacking out there is education.
Definitely. Oh, for sure.
And so I'm trying to keep up the education out there as much as I can. And I think that the more educated you are, the better consumer you are.
Oh,
no
for
matter
sure.
what you are. So that's what I think is going on. That's why we're doing this.
That's awesome. You're doing a great job.
It's free, by the way. You can, on YouTube, it's free.
Exactly, for sure. Doc, thank you so much for joining me. This has been amazing, and trust me, with the clientele that listen to the Typical Chicago Fast, we love you guys. But a little bit of a science and anatomy lesson is exactly what we all need. So,
and I'll be more than happy to go into specifics if you ever want to. We can do that. We'll do like maybe a podcast specifically for, let's say, heel pain, or specifically for metatarsal injuries or whatever. We kind of today are just testing the water. We'll see how
Yep.
it goes.
It was great to have you for the first time, and we'll be sure to get you on again, especially if a major sports injury happens to the foot or the ankle. You'll have to be our medical expert that we're going to have to come over and get your take on the injury.
Anytime.
All right. Doc, thank you so much. Make sure you follow Dr. Elie C. Daniel on Twitter, and make sure to subscribe to his YouTube page, Dr. Elie Daniel. I'll tweet those links out, so make sure you give him a follow.